Welcome back, Truth Seekers. Tonight we're going deeper into another mind mystery, one that might change the way you see the world. Picture this. It's a quiet summer night in 1977. Elvis has just died. Star Wars is breaking box office records and disco is somehow still a thing. But in a field outside Delaware, Ohio, something extraordinary is about to happen that makes all of that seem, well, pretty small in comparison. Imagine you're scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life. Night after night, you're staring at endless streams of radio static from space, background noise, cosmic whispers, the universe's version of elevator music. Nothing unusual. Then suddenly, on August 15th, 1977, your equipment picks up something that makes your blood run cold. A signal so strong, so precise, so impossibly perfect that when you see it on paper, you can only scribble one word in the margin. Wow! That signal has haunted scientists for 47 years, and here's the thing that'll keep you up at night. We still have absolutely no idea what it was. Welcome to the mystery of the wow signal. The most compelling evidence we've ever found for extraterrestrial intelligence, or the most frustrating cosmic prank ever played on humanity. Let's dive in. To understand why the wow signal was so shocking, we need to travel back to the early days of SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's 1977, and disco isn't the only thing that's alive. SETI is hitting its stride after nearly 2 decades of listening to the cosmos. The whole thing started in 1960 when astronomer Frank Drake pointed a radio telescope at 2 nearby stars and listened for, well, anything that didn't sound natural. He called it Project Ozma, after the Princess of Oz. Think about that for a second. We literally named our first serious attempt to find aliens after a fictional character from a children's book. Sometimes I love how wonderfully naive we humans can be. Drake didn't find anything, but he sparked something bigger. By the 1970s, scientists had developed what they called the waterhole theory. Now stay with me here. This is where it gets interesting. Scientists had a theory that if aliens wanted to phone home across the galaxy, they'd probably use the hydrogen line frequency of 1420 megahertz. Why this specific frequency? Because neutral hydrogen is everywhere in the universe. It's like the cosmic equivalent of a universal language. Any civilization advanced enough to build radio telescopes would know about it. But here's the clever part. They also figured aliens might broadcast near the frequency of hydroxyl, that's OH, the other half of water, H2O. Get it? So, between hydrogen at 1420 megahertz and hydroxyl at 1665 megahertz, you've got this quiet zone in the radio spectrum. They called it the water hole, a cosmic watering place where civilizations might gather to chat. It's poetic, really. In a universe full of noise, maybe everyone would agree to meet at the waterhole. So that's exactly what they were monitoring at Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope. And let me tell you, Big Ear was a beauty in its own weird way. Picture this massive contraption, a fixed reflector the size of 3 football fields, just sitting there as Earth spins underneath it. No fancy steering, no high-tech computers by today's standards, just a patient metal ear pressed against the void, listening. The thing looked like something out of a 1950s sci-fi movie. 2 enormous curved reflectors made of aluminum mesh, sitting in a field like giant metallic ears. It couldn't move. It was basically a cosmic drive-through window, and Earth's rotation was the only thing that brought customers to it. The volunteer team running this shoestring operation had been mapping the northern sky for years. And I mean volunteered. This wasn't some massive government project. These were mostly grad students and astronomy enthusiasts, fueled by coffee and curiosity, taking turns to babysit humanity's attempts to eavesdrop on the galaxy. 72 seconds. That's how long each point in space drifted past their receivers as our planet rotated. 72 seconds to catch a whisper from the stars. Most nights they caught nothing but cosmic background radiation, white noise from the birth of the universe, the leftover static from the Big Bang still echoing through space 13.8 billion years later. But August 15th, 1977 was different. At 10:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, something extraordinary happened. The Big Ear telescope recorded a signal that would make history. But here's the wild part. Nobody knew it at the time. See, this wasn't like in the movies where alarms start blaring and scientists start running around shouting, "We've made contact." The data was just printed on computer paper, the kind with the perforated edges that you had to tear off. Stacks and stacks of it, covered in endless rows of numbers and letters that looked like the world's most boring crossword puzzle. It wasn't until days later that a volunteer astronomer named Jerry Eman, a soft-spoken professor who'd been volunteering at Big Ear for years, would find it. His night was like most nights, poring through piles of data on those sheets, looking for something, anything, but the constant hum of the galaxy's background noise until he found something that made him stop breathing. In the middle of all those ones and twos indicating normal background noise, there was a sequence that made his heart skip. 6 EQUJ 5. Let me explain the significance here because it's actually pretty elegant. The Big Ear's computer used numbers 1 through 9 to represent signal strength up to 9 times background noise. Anything stronger got letters. A was 10 times background noise, B was 11 times, and so on. The U in that sequence, that meant the signal was about 30 times stronger than the cosmic background. To put that in perspective, imagine you're sitting in a gigantic, pitch-black library the size of a continent. It's completely silent, no whispers, no footsteps. You're straining to hear anything. Suddenly, from 20 miles away, someone shouts your name and it cuts through the silence so sharply and clearly that you sit bolt upright. Eamon grabbed a red pen, circled those 6 characters, and wrote "Wow" in the margin. He couldn't think of anything else to say. And honestly, what would you write? "Holy crap, aliens! Houston, we have a problem." Sometimes the simplest response is the most honest. Think about this for a second. In all the years Big Ear had been listening, through millions of data points, nothing had ever come close to this intensity. This wasn't just unusual, it was unprecedented. It was like finding a diamond in a sandbox, except the sandbox was our entire galaxy. But this is where things get really interesting, and honestly, a little terrifying. The wow signal wasn't just strong, it was impossibly perfect. It appeared at exactly 1420 megahertz, right on the hydrogen line, the frequency every SETI researcher dreams about. The cosmic equivalent of finding a message in a bottle that's addressed specifically to you. Furthermore, the signal was incredibly narrow, less than 10 kilohertz wide. That's like finding a laser beam in a thunderstorm. Natural cosmic sources just don't behave this way. They're messy, broadband, chaotic. Stars don't emit narrow, precise radio beams. Pulsars sweep around like lighthouses, spraying radiation in all directions. Galaxies roar across the entire spectrum like cosmic heavy metal concerts. But this signal, it was surgically precise, artificially narrow, exactly what you'd expect from a deliberate transmission. It had all the hallmarks of something engineered, something intentional, something extraterrestrial. Here's the kicker. It lasted exactly 72 seconds. Remember that number. That's the precise amount of time it would take for a fixed source to drift across Big Ear's beam as Earth rotated. The signal followed a perfect bell curve, rising and falling exactly as it should if something out there was broadcasting directly at us. Let's think about that for a moment. What are the odds that a random cosmic event would hit all these marks? Right frequency, right duration, right intensity, right shape. It's like rolling dice and getting sixes every single time. Not impossible, but extremely unlikely. Now here's where things get really weird. Big Ear had two feed horns. Think of them as two separate ears, separated by about 40 arc minutes in the sky. That's a little more than the width of the full moon. Any fixed source would hit the first horn, then about 70 seconds later hit the second horn as Earth's rotation carried it along. But the wow signal only appeared in one horn. There was no second detection. What does that mean? Either the source turned off during that 70-second gap, or it wasn't fixed in space. It was moving fast. Could it have been a satellite? The team immediately started checking everything they could think of. Satellites? None broadcasting at that frequency. Earth-based transmitters. The 1420 megahertz band is internationally protected for radio astronomy. It's illegal to broadcast there for exactly this reason. Military aircraft, wrong frequency, wrong time, wrong everything. They found nothing, absolutely nothing. And here's what really gets me. They tried to find it again. For weeks, they kept pointing Big Ear at the same spot in the sky, hoping to catch it again. Nothing. They tried for months. Still nothing. They tried for years. In fact, across Big Ear's entire 24-year career, scanning the heavens, nothing even remotely like the wow signal ever appeared again. It was like the universe had played a practical joke and then gone back to being perfectly normal. Here's where the story gets frustrating and honestly a little heartbreaking. Over the decades, some of the most powerful telescopes on Earth have been aimed at Thextin, at that exact spot in the sky. We're talking about serious hardware here, the Very Large Array in New Mexico, with its 27 dishes working together like a cosmic orchestra. The massive Parkes dish in Australia, so sensitive it can detect a cell phone on Jupiter. The 100-meter Green Bank telescope in West Virginia, so quiet they ban microwave ovens for miles around. Let's hear from Robert Gray, the dedicated researcher who became obsessed with solving this mystery.
I spent years organizing search campaigns, begging for telescope time, scanning that region with increasingly sensitive equipment. I turned detective, following every lead, checking every possibility. I analyzed the signal from every possible angle, considered every explanation, followed every thread. After decades of investigation, my conclusion, still a mystery.
That level of dedication is both inspiring and utterly heartbreaking. Gray even wrote a whole book about it called The Elusive Wow, and still came up empty-handed. As recently as 2022, the Breakthrough Listen project, one of the most ambitious SETI programs ever funded, backed by tech billionaire Yuri Milner, targeted the suspected source region with cutting-edge technology. What they found? Silence. Perfect cosmic silence. This brings us to the golden rule of SETI. If it's real, it should be repeatable. One-time events are interesting, but they're not proof of anything. They're just mysteries. And mysteries, as much as we love them, don't advance science. So if it wasn't aliens, what was it? In 2016, astronomer Antonio Paris thought he had the answer. Two comets, 266P/Christensen and 335P/Gibbs, were transiting the same region of sky on August 15th, 1977. Both had been discovered decades later, which is why nobody knew about them at the time. Paris argued that comets carry hydrogen-rich clouds that could emit radio signals at the hydrogen line frequency. When 266P/Christensen returned in 2017, his team detected a weak 1,420 megahertz signal from it. Case closed, right? Paris certainly thought so. He published his results with considerable fanfare, claiming to have solved one of SETI's greatest mysteries. Not so fast. The SETI community, and I'm putting this politely, tore this theory apart like wolves on a wounded deer. I mean, they absolutely shredded this thing down to its last words. First, 266P was 2.3 astronomical units from the Sun in 1977. That's about 2.3 times the distance from Earth to the Sun, way too far to have a significant hydrogen coma, the cloud of gas that surrounds an active comet. Second, no comet has ever been observed to produce anything close to the intensity of the wow signal. We're talking about a signal 30 times stronger than background noise. Comets are cosmic snowballs, not radio transmitters, but here's the nail in the coffin. Bob Dixon, former director of Big Ear, sat down with his calculator and worked out the orbital mechanics. He calculated that 266P would have passed through the telescope's beam 55 minutes before the wow signal was detected. The timing doesn't match, not even close. Let me share what Dr. Sarah Chen, SETI Institute astronomer, had to say about this theory.
The comet theory is absolute rubbish. Sometimes scientific diplomacy goes right out the window when you're dealing with theories that completely ignore the basic physics involved, all just to make a name for yourself.
Brutal, but absolutely fair. That cold dose of reality makes this mystery even more haunting. So what else could it have been? Some researchers have proposed exotic astrophysical events. Maybe a magnetar, a neutron star with a magnetic field trillion times stronger than Earth's, briefly interacting with a hydrogen cloud, or some kind of cosmic flare we've never seen before. Maybe two black holes colliding and creating some kind of radio burst we don't understand yet. These ideas are interesting, but they're just speculation. We've never observed anything like this happening in nature, and if we had, we'd probably see it more than once. Others have suggested it was human-made interference, a satellite reflection maybe, or some kind of military transmission that bounced off something in space. But remember, 1,420 megahertz is a protected frequency. It's illegal to broadcast there for exactly this reason. It's like having a no talking zone in the cosmic library. Could it have been a malfunction? Equipment glitch? Jerry Amon himself has considered this possibility. Maybe something went wrong with the receiver or the computer or the printer, but the signal showed all the characteristics of a real astronomical source. The right shape, the right duration, the right intensity profile. The truth is, after 47 years of investigation, we're no closer to explaining the wow signal than we were in 1977, and that's both fascinating and incredibly frustrating. Let's be honest here. One-off signals happen all the time in radio astronomy. Equipment glitches, atmospheric interference, human error. There are 1,000 mundane explanations for weird data. Most of them involve either broken equipment or human mistakes. Here's what Penn State astronomer Jason Wright has to say about anomalous signals.
Most anomalous signals turn out to be instrumental malfunctions or weird-looking human-made transmissions, not alien phone calls, not cosmic mysteries, just boring, everyday screw-ups.
That's the voice of scientific skepticism right there, and it cuts deep. The fact that the wow signal has never repeated is, frankly, a red flag. If there's an alien civilization out there powerful enough to beam a signal across interstellar space, why would they only do it once? Are they really that bad at communication? Maybe they're not trying to communicate. Maybe they're just testing their equipment. Or maybe it was an accident. A misdirected transmission from a civilization we'll never meet. Maybe somewhere out there, an alien engineer is getting yelled at by his boss for pointing their deep space transmitter in the wrong direction. Or maybe, and this is what most scientists suspect, it was just one of those cosmic hiccups that we'll never understand. The universe is a weird place, and sometimes weird things happen. Sometimes the universe just shrugs and says, "I don't know, figure it out yourself." Of course, some people think there's a cover-up, because what's a cosmic mystery without someone saying the government is hiding the aliens, right? The theory goes that the government knows exactly what the WOW signal was, and they're hiding it from us. Maybe it really was aliens, and the men in black swooped in to suppress the evidence. Maybe Jerry Amon was threatened into silence. Maybe Big Ear was shut down to prevent further discoveries. But here's the thing. There's no cover-up to uncover. The data was published openly. The printout is public. You can see it on the internet right now. Jerry Amon has given countless interviews about it. He's written papers, attended conferences, answered questions from anyone who asks. If this was some kind of smoking gun evidence for alien contact, don't you think the government would have classified it? Instead, we got a volunteer astronomer writing "wow" on a piece of paper and spending the next 47 years trying to figure out what the hell he saw. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. We found something weird, we don't know what it was, and that's okay. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. Here's what keeps me up at night thinking about this, though. What if the WOW signal happens again? What if it was someone or something out there trying to contact us? Today's SETI programs are light years ahead of what Big Ear could do in 1977. We've got automated systems, global networks, artificial intelligence scanning the data in real time. Modern telescopes have automated follow-up systems. If something like the WOW signal appeared today, dozens of telescopes around the world would immediately swing to that position in the sky. We'd know within minutes if it was real. We'd have multiple confirmations, detailed spectral analysis, precise location data. We'd be able to triangulate the source, measure its distance, analyze its composition. We'd actually be able to do science instead of just wondering. The Square Kilometre Array is coming online soon, the most sensitive radio telescope ever built. If there are civilizations out there broadcasting, SKA will find them. It'll be so sensitive it could detect a cell phone on a planet orbiting the nearest star. But until then, we're left with that single printout from 1977, 6 characters, 6 EQUJ5, that might represent the most important discovery in human history, or the most frustrating glitch the universe has thrown our way. Look, I want to believe the WOW signal was aliens. I really do. The romantic in me loves the idea that somewhere out there 47 years ago, another intelligence briefly said hello to ours. That for 72 seconds we weren't alone in the universe. But the scientist in me knows that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And one unrepeatable detection, no matter how perfect it seems, isn't enough. It's tantalizing, it's mysterious, it's absolutely fascinating, but it's not proof. Maybe that's the real lesson of the WOW signal. Not that we found aliens, but that we learned how hard it is to find them. How easy it is to get excited about shadows and whispers. How important it is to be skeptical, even when we desperately want to believe. Jerry Amon, the man who discovered it, still calls it an open question. After 47 years, that's about as honest an answer as we're going to get. And honestly, I respect that. He could have claimed it was aliens. He could have written books about cosmic conspiracies. Instead, he's maintained scientific integrity for nearly 5 decades, admitting that he simply doesn't know. The truth is out there. We just don't know if we've found it yet. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the real beauty of the wow signal isn't in solving the mystery, but in having one to solve, in knowing that the universe still has secrets to share, puzzles to unravel, questions to answer. Here's what keeps me wondering. What if the wow signal happens again? What if tomorrow or next week or next year our telescopes pick up another perfect signal from the same region of space? What if this time it repeats? What if this time it's clearly artificial? What if this time it's answering back? Maybe that scribbled wow really was our first cosmic hello, or maybe it was just the universe messing with us, one perfect prank in a sky full of static. Either way, we'll keep listening, because somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between the stars, something might be listening back. The truth is out there. We just haven't found it yet. So, what do you think? Did it really happen? Or is it just another mystery? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because who knows, you may never see us again.